There is good without bounds, so we should be happy. And if we could just learn to be kind all the time and to respect everyone, we could naturally sprinkle kindness like confetti. And I believe that there's nothing more important in life than being kind to one another. Luckily for us, many studies show that being kind to one another actually makes us not only happier, but healthier. So I have the question for today. What is the one choice that you can make today to spread unbounded good and loving kindness like confetti? So one more time. What's the one choice that you can make today to spread unbounded good and loving kindness like confetti? Can you imagine if you did one act of kindness each day, the amount of kindness and happiness that you could spread over your entire lifetime? And the nice thing about spreading kindness is it is a lot like confetti. It creeps into every part of our being. It invades those small places. And when we think about it, it's hard to get rid of that feeling that somebody did something really kind and wonderful for us. In religious science, everything we experience in our lives we know is set up to support us. Even those things and situations that might look like they're not really supporting us. But if we examine them better or looked back on them, we'd notice that they are. So if you believe that, why wouldn't you always be kind? I remember having a conversation with my daddy about believing in God. And I was really curious about why some people did and some people didn't. And he said, well, here's the thing. If I die and there is no God, I'm not going to know it. But if I die and there is a God, I want to have lived on this planet being loving and kind, which I definitely could say that he did. And the interesting thing about quantum physics is that now we can prove that God or some higher power actually does exist. So I think all of us should step up and be loving and kind consistently in our lives. Mother Teresa said this: kind words can be short and easy to speak, but their echoes are truly endless. Let no one ever come to you without leaving better and happier. Be the living expression of God's kindness. Kindness in your face, kindness in your eyes, kindness in your smile. So keeping that in mind, I invite you to think of a time in your life when someone did something kind for you, something that made a difference in your day. Perhaps it was a big thing, perhaps it was a little thing. Do you have it? Notice how just savoring that memory feels. Its echo is truly endless. Now let's turn that around. Think of a time when you did something for someone else that was kind, and you left them happier and feeling better. Can you imagine what the world would be like if we all took Mother Teresa's words to heart and made a choice to be the living expression of God's kindness? To consciously make an effort each morning to wear kindness on the outside, on our faces, in our eyes, in our smiles. There's a fable in the Aesop's Fable book for children called The Lion and the Mouse. And the lion is asleep in the forest, and he has his great head resting on his paws, the way we often see lions depicted in pictures. And a timid little mouse came upon him unexpectedly, and in her fright and haste to get away, she ran across the lion's nose. Well, roused from his nap, the lion took his huge big paw and put it on the tiny creature and was about to kill her when the mouse said, "Oh, spare me, please let me go, and someday I will surely repay you." Well, the lion actually was very amused at that, because how could a mouse ever repay him? But he was feeling generous, so he let the mouse go. And some days later, while he was stalking his prey, he ended up caught in a hunter's net. and he was unable to free himself no matter what he did. So he was getting very angry, and he let out this very, very big roar, and the mouse heard it. And the mouse knew that she knew that voice. So she quickly ran to find the lion, and the lion was still struggling in the net. So she ran up and she started gnawing on the ropes, and finally she gnawed it until it parted, and the lion was free. And the little mouse said, "You laughed when I said I would repay you, but now you can see that even a mouse can help a lion." So a kindness is never wasted. I sometimes hear people say no good deed goes unpunished. And in some people's mind, it's a weakness to be kind. It's a weakness to do something that maybe you weren't really feeling like you wanted to do, but somebody had asked you for a favor, and so you said yes. Some people think that you're a fool or that you're naive if you go out of your way to help people, if you lend them money and they say, oh, you're never going to get it back. And I think that the truth is that kindness is really a sign of character and of strength. It's a sign that a person has embraced that part of their own divinity recognizes that we're all connected in life, and when we do something for someone else, we're helping the greater good. And think about what a wonderful thing it is when you were feeling that kindness that someone had done for you or that you had done for someone else, that kindness that you had sprinkled, and there's a ripple effect to it. We never know actually how many lives we've touched with one little act of kindness, or the lasting effect that that small little act might have. Nor do we know whether or not, that person actually even appreciated it as an act of kindness. And I think the truth is, we don't need to know. Kind acts that are done with an agenda are really not done as kindness. If we have expectations that from this act that we're doing, we're going to get something in return, that's fake kindness. True loving kindness is given freely, without any return and without any expectations of gain. So when we judge, like the lion's initial thought that the mouse could never repay him, we fail to recognize that each person is unique. Each person is walking this planet with their own set of life experiences, and they have their own life talents. Now, if that had been the first time that you had heard the fable, which I'm sure it probably isn't, would you have thought that that mouse would ever be able to repay the lion? I know that I probably wouldn't have. But the important part of the story that I think sometimes gets lost is the lion didn't think the mouse could ever repay him. And he let the mouse go anyway. Sometimes we just need to be kind in spite of all the reasoning in our minds. Kindness comes from the heart. It doesn't come from our head. And actually there have been studies that have shown that practicing kindness actually has mental and psychological health benefits. Kindness can make us happier. When we become more compassionate towards others, it actually boosts our immune system. Here's the one I love. It slows down aging. It elevates our self-esteem. It can improve our blood pressure. So how might you spread kindness, since we know it has all those great benefits? I have a top 11 kindness tips. Let someone you know how much you love and appreciate them. We walk around all the time and forget to tell our loved ones that we love them, or that we appreciate the little things that they do maybe for us all the time. Find opportunities to give somebody a compliment, and it's even better if you can compliment them in some area that you already know they might not value themselves. Donate food or clothing to either a local nonprofit or to somebody that's homebound right now because they won't want to go out because of COVID. Make bags with goodies for the homeless. Offer to do a favor for someone who might need a ride somewhere or an errand run. Leave a generous tip while eating out, or if you're getting takeout, be sure to tip anyway. Number 7, smile at someone just because. They might be somebody walking out of a store or the grocery store, or someone that you just see that you don't know. Just give them a big smile. Give somebody a book that you think he might enjoy reading. We have a lot more time these days to read, I think. Pay for the person behind you in the drive-up coffee lines or tea lines. Number 10, weed a person's garden. And if you're not good at weeding, one of the things that I think is cute to do is just put a little note on a popsicle stick and stick it in their garden that says, "Your garden makes me happy, it's beautiful." Or some little note of that nature. And the last one, which is the last but not least, is volunteer to help somewhere. You can wear a mask and stay safe, but what's happening these days is a lot of volunteers are staying home because they're in the older generations and they're trying to avoid COVID. So volunteer. It's a great way to spread kindness. Did you know that kindness is so powerful in bringing world communities together that there's actually a World Kindness Movement? And there's a World Kindness Day, which happens to be November 13th. I learned this several years ago when I went to a interfaith conference, and it was amazing to me that there was actually a World Kindness Movement. The slogan for the World Kindness Movement is "Have the courage to be kind." And it's a platform for collaborating and sharing their mission, which is to inspire individuals towards greater kindness by connecting nations to create a kinder world. And I don't know about you, but I definitely would love living in a kinder world. And right now they have members from 29 different nations. The movement actually educates about genuine kindness versus fake kindness. So, have you ever said to a friend, "If there's anything I can do, just let me know"? And seriously, you're hoping that they won't ever call you and won't ever ask you to help them? That's fake kindness. So if you want to respond to someone that's maybe in a difficult situation and you're not sure what to say, a good thing to say is, "I'm going to be praying for you and your family that this works out very easily for you." Just say something that's genuine. Because when we sprinkle kindness that's disgenuine, it creates hurt in the world and it creates distrust. So an important thing about kindness is it has to come from a place of integrity, and we have to have the courage to follow through on anything that we say we're going to do. So there's this story about a monastery that had fallen upon hard times. It used to be a great order in the 17th and 18th century, but with the rise of secularism in the 19th century, a lot of the branches of this monastery had become lost, and this particular one had become decimated to the extent that there were only 5 monks left in this mother house, the abbot and 4 others, and they were all over 70 in age. Okay, so 70 isn't all that old anymore, but back then, clearly it was a dying order. Well, the monks knew that in the deep woods surrounding the monastery, there was a little hut that a rabbi would come to visit from a nearby town. And he would go there on a hermitage, and actually the monks were so good at prayer and at being connected on the planet that they would sense when the rabbi was in the hermitage, and they would go around the house saying, "The rabbi is in the woods again. The rabbi's in the woods again." So, agonizing over the imminent death of the order, it occurred to the abbot that he might go visit the hermitage and ask the rabbi if he had any suggestions or if he could offer any advice about how to save the monastery. So he decided to do that. And when he got to the hut, the rabbi welcomed him in, and when he told him his story, all the rabbi could say is, "Yeah, I know how it is. The spirit seems to have gone out of people. It's the same in my town. Almost no one comes to the synagogue anymore." So the old abbot and the rabbi wept together, and they read parts of the Torah, and they quietly spoke about really deep topics. But then the time came when the abbot needed to go back to the monastery. They embraced each other, and the abbot told the rabbi that it had been a wonderful thing that they had been able to meet after so many years, and that he had still failed, though, in his purpose for coming there. And so he asked the rabbi one more time, is there anything you can tell me? No piece of advice that you can give me that's going to help me save my dying order? And the rabbi said, no, I'm really sorry. I have no advice to give. The only thing I can tell you is that the Messiah is one of you. And so the abbot returned to the monastery, and of course the other monks wanted to know, what did the rabbi have to say? And the abbot said, he really couldn't help me. So we just wept together. We read the Torah together. The only thing he did say, and it seemed a little bit cryptic, he said the Messiah is one of us. And I'm not really sure what that meant. So in the days and the weeks and the months that followed, the old monks decided that they would ponder this, and they wondered whether there was any possible significance to the rabbi's words. The Messiah is one of us. Could he have possibly meant one of the monks in the monastery? And if he did, which one? So first of all, they said, well, if he was talking about one of the monks, it must have been Father Abbot. He's been our leader for more than a generation. On the other hand, there's Brother Thomas, and Brother Thomas is a real holy man, and everyone knows that he's just this man of light. Certainly it wasn't Brother Eldred. He gets crotchety all the time. Nobody would ever think of him as the Messiah. But then again, he's virtually always right. He has this knack for being right about things. Then they started thinking about Brother Philip and said, well, you know, Brother Philip's kind of a passive. He acts like a nobody. But then mysteriously, if anybody needs help, he's always there with just the perfect gift that they need in their time of need. He just magically appears by their side. And as Brother Joseph was thinking about it, he said, wow, he couldn't possibly have meant me. I'm just an ordinary person. Oh, please don't let him mean me. I'm not anywhere close to God. Not me. I couldn't be the Messiah. But as they continue to contemplate this, the old monks begin to treat each other with extraordinary respect on the off chance that one of them was the Messiah. And on the off chance that they might be the Messiah, they started treating themselves with extraordinary respect as well. Because the forest was situated in a beautiful place in the woods, it so happened that people occasionally came there to visit, and they would picnic and pray and play on the lawn, and sometimes they'd wander around the paths. Even though the chapel itself was dilapidated, it was hard to meditate there because it was crumbling down. And as the people began to pray and to visit more often, even without being really conscious of it, they sensed this aura of extraordinary respect that began to surround these 5 old monks. And it seemed to radiate out from their atmosphere and permeate the whole entire grounds where the monks lived. And there was something strangely attractive and compelling about it. So, hardly knowing why, they started coming back to the monastery much more frequently. And they would picnic and play and pray. And then they began to bring their friends to show them what a special place it was. And you know how that goes. Your friends bring the friends. And so all of a sudden there was all these people that were visiting the monastery. And one of the younger men came up one time and said, I'd like to join you. Is that possible? And then another young man and another one. So within a few years, the monastery, once it began, had become a thriving order. And it was thanks to that rabbi's gift that one of them must be the Messiah. Thanks to the fact that they were looking at themselves and respecting each other and acting kinder to each other and kinder to themselves. The monastery became this vibrant center of light and spirituality in this town. So what does this have to do with sprinkling kindness like confetti? I believe that respect for every living being is, and for ourselves as well, is the ultimate act of kindness. It embraces our philosophy that we are children of the divine, and each of us, like each one of those monks, has a unique talent to offer the world. And look at the ripple effect that mutual respect had on the monastery. Imagine what the effect might be of if each of us respected ourselves and other people, were kind to ourselves and others, never putting each other down, and we lived without even being conscious of it, in the knowing that every person on this planet deserves extraordinary respect. Can you imagine what that would do, and how that vibrant center of light that the monastery became might be a vibrant center of light that the world could become? Might we each bring kindness and respect to the world and sprinkle it like confetti, so that the world becomes a place of a vibrant center of light and spirituality? Wow, what a light that would be. So I want to leave you with a Greek proverb, which I believe really sums up this message. When you receive a kindness, remember it. When you do a kindness, forget it. So let us pray. I stand here in the knowing that the divine is love and light and joy and self-respect and kindness and generosity and love. And that each of us, as individual expressions of the divine, have that within us to be the eyes and the ears and the feet and the hands of the divine, and to be kind and loving. So what I know to be the truth this week is that each of us are embracing this ability to sprinkle kindness like confetti. We're embracing this time to be kinder, to spread kindness, so that there can be more light and this spirit of light in the world, so that there can be this time in our current situation where we feel lifted up, we feel like there's more good in the world. So I'm grateful. I'm grateful to know that the people that are part of this community are in their essence kind and loving, and that they already know how to sprinkle kindness like confetti. They didn't need my top 10, my top 11 hits. And I know that they're out there in action doing just that. So I'm grateful. I'm grateful to know that the God without is the God within each of us, and that the God that lives in each of us is respecting each other and loving each other and sprinkling kindness like confetti. And it's from that great joy that I just released these words into the law of mind, spirit, and action, knowing the truth, that God's already called it good. If there's any heavy lifting that needs to be done with us to let go of anything that's fake kindness, that it's already being done, and that we can just know the truth, that it's already called good. So I say amen, and together we can affirm it, and so it is.